Okay, I'm Paeter Frandsen from Christian Geek Central and Spirit Blade Productions, here to give you my uncut review of Captain America, the Winter Soldier. The superhero movie review. I don't know. Okay, so after the events of Marvel's The Avengers, the government has made security the highest priority, one of the highest priorities of S.H.I.E.L.D., and has taken upon themselves to preemptively attack dangers to the world. As a primary asset of S.H.I.E.L.D., Steve Rogers, codenamed Captain America, is concerned about this new way of doing business and wonders more and more if there's any place for him in this strange world of the future that he has awoken to after decades in suspended animation. Matters become more complex when S.H.I.E.L.D. becomes compromised and attacked from within. So now Captain America, along with Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, has to figure out who they can trust and where the true evil can be found and confronted. And amidst all the chaos and uncertainty, a mysterious assassin appears who is every bit a match for Captain America, and who also resurrects old ghosts from Steve Rogers' past that I think fans are going to get a kick out of. The usual supporting cast returns to support Chris Evans in the title role. Performances are solid throughout, bolstered by a great script that doesn't overdo the humor, keeps the intrigue simmering, and also focuses on character, which I always appreciate. The pace of the movie perfectly, I think, shifts back and forth between action, suspense, and intrigue with welcome splashes of human drama here and there. Although it never once feels sluggish, the film still takes time to help viewers care about these characters and their personal desires, leading to a number of times between explosive action sequences where I actually found myself welling up with tears. The action, the choreography, the visual effects all come together to create riveting sequences made all the more intense by the vulnerable human nature of the heroes. You know, sometimes movies like this, they don't do a good job of telling you how far the hero can go, what his limits really are. And we don't get a perfect idea of what his limits are, but it's an improvement upon what they did with Captain America in the first one, where I didn't really have a strong sense of, you know, what he could and couldn't do, at least not as strong as I wanted. In this one, I have a much stronger sense of really how far he can push himself physically, you know, and so when he gets knocked around and hurt by stuff, even though it's a lot more than the average person can take, you definitely feel that, like, oh man, you know that had to hurt. And so we have this clear sense of vulnerability for the hero, which makes the action more intense. And I wish that superhero movies in general would do a better job of figuring this out. You've got to show your hero wincing and in pain so that we can feel the intensity that you're wanting us to feel. The music is an interesting blend of orchestral and electronic sounds that give the movie a nice suspense film vibe. This movie is just what the trailer seemed to be promising to me. Like a superhero, military, spy thriller mashup, and it pulls off that blend expertly. And the story pulls no punches. I mean, really goes to some interesting places, several surprises, including at least one major game changer for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. A change so big that I actually might be curious enough to check in on the ho-hum, by-the-numbers, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. snooze and or gag fest to see how that TV show is going to move forward in light of the events of Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now, the movie isn't perfect. The CG effects, they do look great much of the time, but a few key balls, I think, were dropped, including one bit, just really bad timing in a scene that was intended to be this emotionally intense scene, and there's CGI right in the middle of it that looks like CGI, and it was like, oh man, you totally took me out of it. It even kind of covers up some of the actor's performance, and it was just unavoidable, just kind of glaring right there, at least for me. But you know, I'm a guy that for whatever reason is just kind of cursed with an eye that can spot CGI, and I'm so jealous of all you folks who like don't even notice and like can totally just accept it as reality. I probably watched too many behind the scenes special features and watched movies that I love too many times. But anyway, I also felt that the story could have taken us further into the character of Steve Rogers, possibly delving more into his man out of time characteristics. They did that a little bit, but I think there's a real danger here of doing the same thing that has happened in my limited exposure to Captain America in the comics, and that is that he gets caught up to the current generation too quickly. There are some lines in this movie about him kind of getting caught up with the internet on history and stuff like that, and I just wish we could have seen more of him just kind of looking at things as he walks past them and his eyes kind of going, whoa, and reacting to some of the things that we take for granted. I also think there's potential for him to have just a purer sense of morality than everyone else around him. And, I'm not going to say that like people in the 50s had this pure sense of morality, but there is a sense in which we kind of look at the 50s in that way, and we kind of expect when the 50s are being handled in movies for them to have this kind of pure sense of morality about them. And so for that reason, not because I think it would necessarily accurately reflect the 50s, I don't know, I wasn't there, or 40s, I guess I should be saying, I wish that he had a little bit more of that kind of like innocence about him. Not necessarily naivete, but just innocence and just a higher moral standard rather than just kind of the jaded, yeah, okay, well, this is just kind of how life is. And he's not that far, he's not jaded by any means, but I just would have liked the man out of time aspects to be emphasized a little bit more. I don't think it affected my enjoyment of the movie all that much, maybe a little bit, because I think that's just an aspect of his character that's been established previously that was a little bit ignored here, and I do think from a storytelling standpoint that is a bit of a shortcoming. But much of what I'd like to see happen there is also my personal preference. There were also a few jokes that fell flat, continuing the pattern of Marvel movies that they all seem to be trying to capture the lightning in a bottle that was Iron Man. There was such great humor in those Iron Man movies, especially the first one, that I just feel like Thor and the Avengers to some degree, they're all trying to like, okay, so that's part of what makes a Marvel movie is there's we get this witty banter and jokes and stuff back and forth, and I don't think they should hold on to that as a defining Marvel movie characteristic, because it's not working in all of these Marvel movies. It works for the most part in the Iron movies, but even those not perfectly all the time. And so, Thor Dark World was a prime example to me of a movie that was trying to capture some of those Iron Man sensibilities, and it's just not the right fit, I don't think. This movie, the jokes are few and far between, but about half of them do fall flat again. But, at least they're not as frequent, so it doesn't hurt the movie all that much, really. This movie, I think, largely seeks to have its own identity, not compelled toward humor under the shadows of Tony Stark and Pepper Potts. A significant theme in this movie is the topic of security versus freedom. Now, if you take a strong view on this political subject, it may affect your enjoyment or involvement in the film one way or the other. The prevailing sentiment in Winter Soldier is that freedom is more important than security. And I thought about this a little bit, and though, I am far from political, that's not when I give a relevance score. I don't really pay attention to political stuff. I'm more interested in the spiritual, the ethical, the moral aspects of a story, the philosophical side of things rather than the political side of things. But behind, almost every political stance is some kind of a moral view that's motivating that stance. So, I don't want to completely brush over political views either when they pop up. But that said, I am far from political, and I say this with fear over what an excessive application might cost, but I would probably side with freedom being more important than security as well. After all, without human freedom, we're unable to even have a debate over which value is most important. A minor villain in the story comments that humanity cannot be trusted with their freedom. And I think as an audience, we're meant to feel like, well, yes, we can be trusted with our freedom. But no, I think that statement is actually true. We can't be trusted with our freedom. We have shown throughout history that we cannot be depended upon to use our freedom wisely. I mean, sure, we do some good things, but consider for a moment all the evils, both big and small, that we take for granted just as a part of everyday life. Just to name a few, just the few that pop into my mind, we need contracts, we need lawyers, we need police officers, we need judges, we need laws, we need prisons, we need fines, we need security cameras, we need counselors, all because we can't be trusted to do the right thing with our human freedom. All those conventions that we just accept are all there because we cannot be trusted to do the right thing with our human freedom. So in this way, the villain was actually right in what he said in that moment. It was his suggested solution that was the problem. Now, despite these interesting ideas, the story lends itself primarily, I think, to being an exciting, involving action movie and not a springboard for worthwhile contemplation or conversation. Captain America, The Winter Soldier is, I think, one of the best Marvel movies made so far. It's well worth seeing. It's rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence, gunplay, and action throughout. I give it a quality score of 9.0 out of 10 and a relevance score of 6.5 out of 10. Please share and subscribe, or, I just may crawl in a hole and cry myself to sleep. Also, please leave comments below about what you liked or what you'd like to see, except for better editing, as naturally my awesome graphics, music, and editing skills obviously can't be improved upon unless you're volunteering to do the editing chores yourself. Also, for info about our scoring system, and tons of other content and community, visit ChristianGeekCentral.com. I hope you'll come join us there as soon. I was doing so freaking good. See, I'm working off a script here, which you probably couldn't tell with my eyes doing this the whole time. And of course, you guys listening to the podcast can't tell at all with my eyes what my eyes are doing. You're just hearing awkward pausing right now. Anyway, come by ChristianGeekCentral.com. I hope you'll join us there soon as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. All right, where's the button?